The tears aren't coming. The tears just aren't coming.
Just to be clear, it looks like he's dead or he is dead.
It just looks like he's dead. He's got like blue paint on him or something. But he's going to be fine.
What is wrong with you?
Doctor!
So we've been reporting here on the channel, and I'm perched on his channel, the rise of manga, the way it's essentially dominating the book market right now as far as trades, volumes, graphic novels. And it's gotten a lot of people spooked. They're a little worried, and maybe some people are kind of gloating that manga maybe is going to be the death of Western comics. And here to talk with me about that is my good friend from the Comics by Perch podcast. Perch, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, and glad to talk about this.
So, everyone's thrown all these numbers. The top 20, graphic novel sales are all manga. What is it? Demon Slayer's outselling the entire comic book industry as far as, the big two mainstream comics. And some of it's true, but I think people might be cherry picking, and the demise of Western comics isn't quite as apparent, and it might not be at the hands of manga.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack there. The problems the Western comics are facing, I think it's tempting to kind of point to manga as the thing that's taken it out, but it's a lot of things, and really at the end of the day, the problems they're having are their own problems. Definitely, there's some great quality manga content. You're seeing it pop right now because more of it's available than was. I mean, it's got that recognition. Suddenly it's starting to roll. It's going to other places. They're in more of the newsstand, what quote unquote the newsstand than comics are in some cases. You can go to bookstores and find manga. You can go to Target and Walmart in some cases and find manga where you don't find comics. So that's all a threat. But really, I think Western comics the problems they have are their own. Manga is just coming into the very competing product right now.
It's an alternative to Western comics, and a lot of people are churning over there because they're providing a better product. But there's also something else that I've subscribed to Netflix. I'm in the Philippines, so we have a little bit different base of entertainment viewing. We got a different catalog than people in the US or other parts of the world, but there's a lot of manga adaptations, and it's almost all the best animation on Netflix is manga based.
Sure. Yeah. And keep in mind, they're also getting the stuff that's done well. So the manga that's showing up there, the anime that's showing up in places like Netflix and even Amazon Prime and others, it cherry picked is I'm not saying that meaning to be negative. It's that they're not bothering to transfer over the series that didn't work or the series that were lower quality. They're bringing the best stuff. So of course you turn it on and it's good because you're watching the best of the best. It'd be sort of like if you were in another country and Marvel took the events or the comics that sold the best over the last 30 years and put out trades of just that and removed all the rest. Of course it would look great.
Yeah, so I think the subscriber base to Netflix being so enormous, it's right there. You can see My Hero Academia. You can see Berserker. A lot of these really big popular mangas. I think that helps out as well. But if you look at there is some DC content here, even though because there's no HBO Max.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but even that stuff, it's not translated. It's not adapted directly a lot of times from the books.
It's not. And by the way, a lot of people in the US, I think, are crying to hear some of the series you're mentioning, or unfortunately you're getting them. We aren't. So that's you have to be on Funimation or something like that for those. But
VPN.
You are absolutely right. One problem that I think exists, and it's a different problem. When you talk about this topic, there's so many different pieces to it. But you hit on a big one, which is manga and anime are very much in sync. So if the manga comes out, people likes it, there's a almost panel for panel adaptation of it. And every now and then they do stray from that. I mean, most recently, The Promised Neverland, the second season of it strayed pretty far from the manga, and people were pissed. I mean, it in Japan, it got a very bad reception. So it doesn't happen very often. They keep things aligned. Now, for DC and absolutely for Marvel, there is almost this, they've got to deviate from the source material. They do the Killing Joke, and they set up this weird relationship with Barbara, Gordon. And so there's almost this, they have to change the story. And in many cases, those changes, at best, just irritate the existing comic fans because they're different. And at worst, they break the story. And I think that's one thing that manga and anime does so much better.
Yeah, I've seen Under the Red Hood. There's an action scene that's added that was additive to the story. Like it felt like it was there naturally, but for the most part, you're just like, why are they doing this? Why are these characters here? And it's kind of confusing. Like if my kid watches that, he's like, I want to read that story. Like the story is a little bit different. It's not got the character that you actually like here. Yeah. And it can be a bit of a problem. But I think you hit on the big problem here. I understand there are a lot of people that are down on the comic book industry. Sure. I don't think that it's real hot right now. It's tough to get excited for a lot of what the big two are putting out. But there are some definite good comics out there right now. You just have to be able to find them. But I think a lot of people are gloating as if manga is the reason that the comic books are in the position they are. You even have some people out there trying to cancel manga. Like, look at all this misogynistic material that's in manga and stuff. And it's like, listen, I don't think you might realize that people are turning to manga. Maybe they like that material. Maybe they like stories that are focused on character development and telling heroic tales. And I think almost all of the comic industry's wounds are self-inflicted. And manga is just an alternative that people are turning to. And it just so happens to be really hot right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it exacerbates the problems the industry has. And I mean, if you kind of go down the list, DC has shed a lot of people. They're still trying to figure themselves out. They're trying to get back up and going with the titles they have. Marvel's got this new relationship with Penguin Random House. They're arguably saving some of their bigger material for October, where it's going to financially matter more. They're both addicted to events heavily. They've been rebooting constantly where number ones don't matter. They've been cycling out kind of top artists who now become cover artists so they can have cheaper talent working on the books. I mean, you have a lot of things going on there. And then manga, the analogy would be like I mentioned before, what if you took, say, Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns, Secret Wars, Kraven's Last Hunt, just kind of cherry picked a bunch of the most amazing books we've had over the last 40 years. And then you suddenly release them over a year time span to a region that had never seen that stuff before. They would be saying, Marvel, DC, it's the Renaissance. This is the best stuff ever. It would be incredible to get those top books. And that's a bit of what's going on with manga. Demon Slayer is a great series. So is My Hero Academia. So is Promised Neverland. So is a lot of these. One Piece is a timeless classic. It's great. You're getting a lot of really high quality manga all at once where you didn't see it, and it's like discovering a gold mine. And that's what a lot of people are going through. And so, yeah, then to your point, you're seeing this huge burst. You're seeing big sales numbers because stuff's available. And then you're seeing some people, naturally, because we got to be on two sides of everything, want to fight against it. The comment that you mentioned that, well, manga's too misogynistic. It's like, brother, I got to tell you, you could check out Dynamite's cover sometime, or Coffin Comics, some of these others. I mean, this stuff's in the U.S. too. You didn't cure all of Western comics from boobs. They're around, but that's a dumb thing to say anyway. It's like just manga's it's a different culture. They're doing their thing, like it or don't. I always learn from the wisdom of Kelly Sue DeConnick. If you don't like it, don't buy it.
Hey, here's the thing: it's competition. Is the Western comic book mainstream market going to rise to the competition and level of product that they're putting out? And I love the reaction from the comic book industry. I find it hilarious. At first, we're going to start opening up what comic books are in North America so we can say there's growth. And now we're seeing the growth of manga is so enormous that, whoa, that's problematic. They're making us look bad. The numbers aren't good. So you're having some people have a reaction to that and everything, rather than looking at the competition and saying, what are they doing that people are having a reaction to, or that people are drawn to, and how can we take that and do it with our own characters or our own medium?
Sure, and you do see some creators. I saw a number of them, including Brett Booth on his his feed, talking about, hey, I need to start learning the style and picking some of this stuff up. You do see a lot of people rising to the occasion, but yeah, you see others wanting to now dismiss this thing that they brought. Arguably a lot of people brought in the first place. There was a lot of people, including the before mentioned Kelly Sue DeConnick, in her interview that talks about, people are not even paying attention to manga. It's big. Comic industry is growing. I mean, they were promoting it, and then fast forward a couple of years, and suddenly it's a problem. The funny part to me is this chart that I'm sure many of the listeners here has seen, where it shows the top comics for April, and then they're like all manga on there. The challenge is that chart is also a bit cherry picked in the sense that it's not showing the complete list of graphic novels. It's also excluding a couple big things, which is namely the Scholastic stuff, which in many cases is kicking the ass of manga. Demon Slayer is a beast, but Dogman remains the killer of them all. And so the thing that I just don't understand is if you really want to, and not saying you should, but if you really want to make fun of the Western comic industry, and that's just enjoy the comics. It's not the positive thing for you to do. You can point out that a very crudely drawn animated dog is beating everybody, like everybody. So I mean, maybe that's next month's adventure. We can start that thing up, because the comic book industry was counting. Some of them were counting Dogman sales as well as part of the growth of what they've done. And if you take that out, it's quite a crater. That's all I'm saying.
So, Perch, why do you think that Dogman performed so well? I have my theory. What's your theory?
It's made for kids, and kids like it.
It knows its audience.
Exactly.
And it's creating for its audience.
Exactly. And it's cheap, and it's sold everywhere. Like it's like the cost of the Fantastic Four anniversary issue is higher than Dogman by
$10.
Yes,
ridiculous.
You can go into Target. They've got this thing on sale for $5.99, and it's a hardcover book, and the drawings are very crude, and the stuff's very simple, and it's absolutely not for me, but it is for all the kids out there. And they love
where
it.
else you can go to find Dogman? You don't have to go to Target. There are none of those in the Philippines. You can go to National Bookstore. There's one in every mall.
Sure.
In the entire country. Guess what you're going to find? Dogman. I handed it to my little son. He wanted a book.
Yes.
He was like, "Oh, this is cool."
It's in the grocery store here.
Doing adventures. Yes. Let's see it.
It's in our grocery stores. You can go in and buy Dogman. Of course, the kids buy it. It knows its audience. It delivers a product for the audience. And this is the 5-year threat. And I'm at the grocery store yesterday, and there's Dogman, and sitting right next to it is a Tonkabon Demon Slayer book for the older brother or older sister of that kid buying Dogman. And that is what's going to win this battle for the next 20 years. That's the next generation is going to go right down that path.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then you'd say, "Whoa, look at all this problematic material in manga." Manga knows its audience.
It does. It absolutely does.
That's what their readers want. And guess what? It appears that's what North American readers want too.
I agree with you. I mean, the funny thing about manga is people look at kind of the same titles over and over. My Hero Academia is not I think you'd really have to struggle to call that a huge problematic title. There's not
a straight superhero book.
It's a straight superhero book. There's not blatant TNA in that book. There's the best thing I think you could point to is that there's one of the teachers you see once every like 200 chapters is in like a bondage outfit. And you see her for like 3 panels. That's it. It's a superhero book, and people love it. And what I hear over and over again of people who are really into My Hero Academia is these are people who once upon a time were into the Uncanny X-Men and Teen Titans and books like that. And this is where they've gone. Manga's found its audience. Simple as that.
You think about the Promised Neverland. We look at what's happening over here in North American audience. Maybe not a 1-for-1 comparison, but kind of similar to Something is Killing the Children.
Absolutely.
So happens one of the hottest books in indie comics.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these comments of, again, people cherry pick a lot. This manga is problematic. Promised Neverland. I mean, have you opened up that book? There's horror elements, but is there TNA in that book? No, it's kids. It's all kids and monsters.
It's like a battle royale kind of feel to it. It's kids doing things they shouldn't have to.
Yeah, it's all a bit silly and people protest too much, but manga is definitely strong. I think the fun is going to come in about a month or two when whoever makes these lists and get them trending and get them viral discover that stuff from Scholastic's doing even better, and that makes an even more embarrassing picture. So we can all look forward to that. But best way to compete.
Exactly. When there's competition there, you have to rise to the challenge or you become obsolete. And it's on the big two to rise to the challenge. Do you think they have it within them? Or do you think with the current path that they're on and the fact that they want to placate to to all these markets that aren't currently buying their product, rather than the people that are buying their product. And then in some cases, you can see them driving people away. Are they prepared to change course and say, you know what, we're committed to entertainment. If we can add some other stuff into it, fine, but entertainment is number one.
So today, no. But soon, I mean, I think the companies will figure it out. I mean, Disney does not like to lose. And you know, they don't like that embarrassment. They've enjoyed having Marvel at the top of the game. Right now, the noise has gotten high enough that it's just not anymore, and people realize it on a bunch of different fronts. There's a number of different products, both manga and the stuff from Scholastic, that is beating it. And you know, they wanted those. Arguably, they wanted those numbers in the report. They got them, and now it shows they're not number one. And so the pressure is going to be making number one. Now, do they know what it takes to get to be number one? I think there will be a lot of flailing to get there. I'm optimistic. I do think they get there, but probably not with a lot of the current crew that's there.
No, it's crazy. And, you know, people are, is manga going to be the death of Western comics? No, Western comics will be the death of themselves for not adapting and evolving to the market.
This trend, sure. I mean, you know, unfortunately, if you look at kind of how these things play out, the next step is going to be Western comics trying to mimic what they think is successful in manga and doing it very, very, I don't want to say poorly, but randomly.
Future State Gotham, yes.
Yes.
Did you see that comic book?
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
What was that? It was an unfinished art. Like,
yes, definitely manga-like, everything else. I mean, and again, all the pieces are there. If you're Disney that loves cheap labor, see, I'm using the right words this today, and unlike your program yesterday, it's use cheap labor. A lot of the manga art, much cheaper labor to get that put together, so you can tap into that market. Not that that's what you should do, but anyway, we'll see very poor imitations. My question in all this: CB Cebulski was in that region, studying that content, was an expert,
creating content for that market.
Sure, was reportedly billed as somebody who really could tap into that genre. So, what happened? Like, how did you fall asleep at the wheel? What went on? How'd you let him get this much of a lead on you? You know, what's going on, man?
I got to ask you this: does DC Comics know that they have two of the very best manga-inspired Western comic artists in the world, Sean Gordon Murphy and Jorge Jimenez? I
doubt they put that together.
Like, hey, and you know, Sean Gordon Murphy is actually a pretty good writer too.
Yeah. Oh no, and Murphy's title feels like manga in a sense that if you look at White Knight, it's a self-contained story. It has a beginning and an end. It's got definitely manga feel to the art, and it's got a manga style, right? I mean, I've read hundreds, if not thousands, of manga titles. White Knight in tone is more similar to manga than it is a lot of the Western comics. And yeah, if you're DC, you would promote the hell out of that. That's what you should do right now.
Absolutely. And then, you know, there's a couple artists that have worked in that White Knight office on some of these other tales that have a style that's similar to that. Do they even realize that they have comic artists that they're paying top dollar to that have art that feels like the competition? If they think it's the art that's selling, they have the people to do it. I don't think it's the art. I think that you could have a manga comic with Western style graphics and it will do just as well, because I think it's the storytelling. I think it's the closed nature of the universes that really help.
It is. I think the art has to match the storytelling, but it's not copy a manga style. It's that there needs to be a tight synergy between story and art. And yeah, I mean, the White Knight universe, Mateo, who just did Harley Quinn, is perfect for this. Yes. Very fitting, on time. His wife, Katana Collins, wrote a romance thriller for Harley Quinn that definitely fit a different genre. It's something else manga does really, really well. So yeah, I mean, they've got it. Will they use it?
Absolutely. They got the specialties in-house, and they're paying them. You know, I imagine Jorge Jimenez is getting some pretty good money for doing that Batman book. You know, maybe you could pick his brain a little bit, and maybe he knows somebody. So we shall see. If Western comics don't adapt to the market, that'll be the death of them. It's not going to be manga, but manga is the big piece of competition that in Scholastic that is sitting out there, letting the Western comics, like the mainstream, know, like, you're not the mainstream anymore. We're the mainstream, and you need to catch up.
That's true.